All right, let's talk about Johnny Wilson, who is a really interesting player going to the Philadelphia Eagles. And, a lot of people thought this guy could be a potential second round pick, including me. I thought that. So, definitely surprised he fell as far as he did here. Listen, I understand there are some concerns with a guy like Johnny Wilson. And that's why, on the consensus big board, he was 112th. So he wasn't like universally considered this hyped up prospect or anything like that. But I still think there's a lot of real value in someone like Johnny Wilson that I think could be maybe figured out by the Eagles. There is a bit of a project here as well. And I'm also not exactly sure where he fits in this roster, and we'll get into it once we get into the film, but is he someone what can he do for this team? Could he be a 6'7" slot receiver, perhaps? As weird as that sounds, it actually might make some sense, similar to how like a tight end works. Now you have Dallas Goedert, so you're good at the tight end position, but could he maybe, again, you don't just have one tight end play. Even CJ Uzomah, they drafted a guy not too long ago as well at the tight end position. And they got Albert. Oh, I didn't realize they got him. So they have certainly depth at the tight end position, which makes me assume they're going to have him try and play receiver, and they could use receiver depth for sure. So, I don't know. I kind of like this move. I really do. I think Johnny Wilson is an underrated player. I think the team maybe slept on him a little bit. Again, because I get the concern of where exactly are we going to, is this going to work out? You are risking lighting a pick on fire with Johnny Wilson. There is bust potential, but the guy's 6'7", moves incredibly well. I get that he has drop issues, and again, we'll get into all of that stuff in the film. But for the fit, I do think maybe, and it's also weird where you have Devontae Parker, who can kind of be that outside threat, which I'm assuming they just don't want that's not why they're drafting Johnny Wilson. But Wilson can do a lot of things, and let's get into the film and talk about what I like about him as a player, why I thought he made my top 10 wide receivers list. He was at 10, but still, why I think that he's maybe getting slept on a little bit. Let's just get into the film. Let's start off with this play. This is the fun play to start things off. We're just running kind of, over the middle route, that stuff, whatever, let's just get into the play. You see on this one, again, for a guy who's 6'7", that's going to jump out on film. You see, though, moves really well. Is able to cut very well to where he gets over the middle very quickly. And I think that's kind of what really is impressive with him. It's almost surprising he ended up playing football instead of basketball, because it feels like a guy who's 6'7" and cuts the way he does, usually that's a basketball player. But no, he cuts very well and is able to get to this position. And then also he's hard to bring down because he's essentially a tight end with the ball in his hands and is able to, move further. And I do think that there is some question marks as to, is he going to be a receiver or a tight end? Darren Waller was drafted as a receiver, eventually turned into a tight end. I could see a similar pathway for Johnny Wilson, but I don't know. Some of the stuff he does is just really well done. Like a play like this, which is very much a tight end style route, the kind of get open, over the middle type of thing. You see that you see the route that he's going to be running right here, just trying to get into a gap in coverage. But the route and the coverage is less important. It's kind of more how he runs it here. Watch how when this play begins, he's going to do a nice job right when it begins of kind of getting inside leverage. But also, again, that stem portion of the route, which I always harp on, for someone like him, for his size, where he is going to have to kind of do some little things to help him get open, I think, and get separation. Because, again, he's only 6'7", so he's kind of always open. But, for him to get separation, he might have to do a little thing or two more than the average person would. That is what he's doing. You see that the ball is going to come in his direction, and because of that route running set up really well by not giving away what he was doing, he was able to make the catch. Now, it's short of the first down marker, but that was, again, kind of by design. What are you going to do? And they were able to at least make it for an easier field goal opportunity, or you could go for it on fourth if you want to. So still is a benefit right there. It's good stuff by Johnny Wilson. Now, I think there was stuff like this as well, where you see his route, just kind of that over-the-middle route against zone. This isn't a bad thing, but it's maybe something that I think it's fair to bring up, which is a lot of his routes were kind of this stuff, of just get open in zone coverage. But, again, there is kind of an art to this as well, where watch how when this play begins, you see that he kind of is quickly realizing where the gap in coverage is right here, and I think that this stuff matters. Now, maybe it doesn't matter a ton, like part of why I loved Quentin Johnston as a prospect, yes, I was a fan of him, was because he did such a good job of understanding zone coverage and how to win there, and, turns out at the NFL level, it's a little bit trickier, but still, I still think there's a benefit to this. You see that, does a good job of getting exactly where he needs to be and kind of going deep once he gets into that gap in coverage, is able to make the grab and pick up a decent gain there. So again, there's two ways you could look at that. You could look at that and say, well, not the highest degree of difficulty type play. That's one way you could view it. But the other way to view it is like, hey, I mean, he's making, if he's a tight end or if he's a slot receiver or whatever, like these are things that you're going to need guys to be able to do, and so it's good that he can do those things. Let's go over here because I want to talk about his drop problem now. Listen, there's no denying it. The guy had a ton of drops in college. But I would also say there were some impressive catches as well. And drops can be fluky year in and year out. And while it is concerning, it is something to maybe, just consider with him, is that it's not like he was dropping everything. Play like this, it's a one-on-one matchup, and it's a one-on-one matchup on a 4th down and 3. So pretty key situation here. You see that the ball is going to go in his direction pretty quickly. Receiver just, hey, I got a 6'7" guy. Let's have him go up and hopefully make the grab. And that's going to be exactly what Johnny Wilson is able to do. And you want to see more of this. And like this is, I think the hope when you're drafting him is you're going to get more of this and less of the drops and the hands issue, which there's no getting around it. It was an issue. I can't say it wasn't. But also something like this, where he's actually going to start to play off screen here. It's a 3rd down and 5, running a slant route in a one-on-one matchup. You're going to see that when the quarterback takes the snap and is eventually firing towards Johnny Wilson. So Wilson is open here. Did a good job, again, that footwork to allow himself to get open. So that's certainly very good. This time, though, the issue isn't that the ball is high and he needs to find a way to go up and make the grab. This is the opposite. The quarterback has thrown it low, which for a guy who's 6'7", that almost might be more difficult. However, he can go down and make this catch as well. So he certainly has the athleticism to make these catches. It very much is he would drop them sometimes. And it is what it is. You do have to clean that up. And you just, when you're drafting him, it's not something you can really coach, right? It's just you hope it gets better, but it certainly could get better. And going over here as well, I've talked a lot about maybe he's a tight end. Well, he's not getting drafted as a tight end, right? He's getting drafted as a wide receiver. And I do think that he could be a wide receiver as well. We have seen him win on the outside. And I think that for me personally, if I'm drafting him to try him at wide receiver. And if it doesn't work out there, at least, then have him go to tight end. We'll watch how when this play begins. You see it's a one-on-one matchup on the outside. I mean, that's not a tight end situation. That's a wide receiver situation. But you see him blow by the corner who's trying to cover him here. That's not easy to do. And even when the throw was a bit behind, he's able to adjust nicely and make the grab there. So again, the criticisms of Johnny Wilson are, I think, valid criticisms. He is someone who does have that, drop issue. And while his catch radius is great, a drop issue is a drop issue. He is definitely someone who, for a guy who is 6'7", is very good at moving. But you kind of always have to say he's great at moving for a guy who's 6'7". That being said, he's great at moving for a guy who's 6'7", so there's still a lot of intrigue in him, and that's why I like him as a prospect. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.